Welcome back. The family of Eddie Russell Jr., shot and killed by Peoria police officers last year, has filed a lawsuit. And joining me now is civil rights attorney representing the family, Andrew M. Stroth. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Want to get right into it. So Illinois State Police, they conducted their own investigation that found that those officers, they didn't do anything wrong. They acted in self-defense, that Eddie Russell Jr. approached them aggressively with a gun. Now, the lawsuit filed goes completely against that narrative, saying that his hands were on a garage. Well, what makes you believe that narrative over the investigation?
So we disagree with the narrative given by the Peoria Police Department. If I believe the narrative given by police across the country, what would you say about Freddie Gray? What would you say about Laquan McDonald? What would you say about Walter Scott? Based on eyewitness reports and evidence on the scene, it's our perspective that Eddie Russell Jr. was lifting up a garage door with both hands while he was shot more than 17 times by aggressive officers within the Peoria Police Department.
How does that become hard within this case when you don't have body camera footage, for what we know at this point, no dash cam footage, to prove that, and going based off of, I guess you're saying that there are witness accounts?
Well, we're going to go through this discovery process. That last night, the family of Edward Russell Jr. filed a federal civil rights Section 1983 lawsuit against the city of Peoria and the Peoria police officers who unjustifiably shot and killed Edward Jr. Through the process and through the discovery process, we will get written interrogatories from the city. We will do depositions of the officers, and we think that the federal lawsuit is the best vehicle to find out the truth of what really happened. We disagree with the narrative given by the police, and in the city of Peoria, there's what's called a Monell claim. A Monell claim is a pattern, practice, and custom of the use of excessive and unjustified and unconstitutional force. And that's what's going on in Peoria. Peoria has problems, just like Chicago has issues within their police department. There are officers on the PPD that have been known to use excessive and unreasonable force.
And actually, just to go on to that, also within the lawsuit, it states that there's a belief that there was a conspiracy by the officers within this shooting?
Well, we believe there's a code of silence. When bad acts happen, officers are less than forthright, from our experience, in saying what really happened. This situation is pretty simple. Edward Russell Jr. was suffering a mental health crisis. At that moment in crisis, instead of helping a young man in mental health crisis, the officers used a military-style approach and tactics that resulted in the unjustifiable and unconstitutional death of Edward Russell Jr. And we think, as it relates to the conspiracy allegation, that there's a code of silence. And the Peoria Police Department has a fundamental and systemic problem.
Yeah, in an earlier press conference that you all held, NAACP president said that they believe that the officers knew, the family says that they believe the officers knew
it's our
about
belief
a prior mental health
that
issue.
the officers knew he had a mental health condition. 90% of the families that want our law firm to represent them, we don't represent them. We only get involved in cases that we believe were unjustified and unconstitutional shootings. The ACLU was there this morning. The NAACP is supporting it. Bishop Joseph Johnson, another prominent member of the community, was there. This isn't just a black thing. This is a human rights thing and constitutional issue. And the reason there's so much support in this lawsuit is Edward Russell Jr. had no violent background. He had a history of mental health issues. And those officers were very much aware of his issue, and they still executed him on September 20th, 2017. And
my last question to you, because of that, how would you play in and address the fact, or well, I guess fact, that they're saying that he had a gun at the bank? Obviously, this all started being accused of robbing a bank earlier in the day, and then the fact, again, the investigation saying that he approached the officers with the gun. How do you approach that within this conversation, and saying he didn't have a violent background, of there possibly being a weapon at the scene?
Well, we disagree with the narrative they've given, but importantly is at the moment that Edward Russell was shot and killed, he did not pose a threat to those officers. He did not pose a threat to any third parties. It's our understanding and our belief, based on eyewitness reports and other evidence, that Edward Russell Jr. was lifting the garage door with both hands on the fence when he was shot and killed by the officers. So when the police say he was holding a gun, I mean, we disagree with that, and we don't think the discovery process will reinforce their version. We think that he was both hands on the fence and was shot unjustifiably.
So not necessarily denying that he may or may not have had a gun, but saying that he didn't have his hands on a weapon at the time of which he was
What
shot.
I'm saying is it was an unjustified, unconstitutional shooting and killing of a 25-year-old African-American young man without cause or provocation. These officers have to be trained to deal with mental health crises and mental health issues, whether it's crisis intervention training or dealing with an emotionally disturbed person, an EDP. Those officers need to be trained. This was a mental health crisis, and a young man lost his life, and a mother lost her son, a father lost his son, and a family's devastated by a shooting that should have never happened.
All right. Well, Andrew M. Stroth, civil rights attorney representing the family of Eddie Russell Jr., definitely appreciate you coming on and elaborating on the federal lawsuit that has
Yes.
now been filed against the city of Peoria.
Thank you.
All right.